Okay, so let's actually jump into the demo and create our first automation rule. So for this first rule that we're going to create today, we're going to tackle a really simple use case, which is adding a number of subtasks to an issue that's just been created. So the first thing we need to do is jump into our rule builder here by clicking through to this create rule action. And then we get to pick our first building block that John just introduced. So we need to pick a trigger for this rule. And with triggers, there's a lot of different choices available. So there's all the typical issue actions available. So we can run this rule when an issue is created or commented or transitioned. We can also run this rule when field values change. So for example, if the priority increases on an issue. And we have some more advanced triggers again. So things like that are software specific, for example, like when a sprint is completed or when a version's just been released. Or we could run a rule on a scheduled basis, which I'll show you in the last example of this demo. But for now, for this rule, we simply want to kick off when an issue's been created. So I can just pick this issue created trigger, and with this trigger, it's really easy. There's no extra configuration required. I can just save this, and now we can add our next building block to this rule. So with this rule, I'm going to add a condition. And with conditions, again, there's quite a bit of choice available. So we have a very simple to use issue fields condition, which I'll show you in a second. But you can also do more advanced things like run user conditions. For example, if you wanted to check if the reporter is part of a particular group, or we could run a JQL condition that checks if this issue that was created matches a certain JQL query. So if you really want very fine-grained control about which issues this rule would run for. But for this example, let's just pick the issue field condition. And right now, all we want to check is that the issue type is a task. So only when a task is created do we want to create subtasks. And by the way, as I'm creating this rule and adding these components on the right, you always get a nice little summary as you go on the left-hand side here of what this rule does. So already we can see that this rule will run when an issue is being created and only if the issue type is a task. Okay, so now that we've created our or added our condition, we can now go ahead and add our first action. And with actions, there is also a lot of choice available. So again, we have all the different issue operations. So you can assign issues, you can comment on issues, you can transition them, you can edit them. You can also create new issues in other projects or in the same project. We also have a bunch of third-party integrations. So you can send emails, or you could send a Teams or a Slack message, for example. You can even send outgoing web requests. So if you have some kind of third-party API or third-party system in your organization, then you could use an automation rule to send a web request to that system with some data from this issue that was just created. But for this example, all we want to do is actually create some subtasks. So we have a create subtasks action specifically for this use case. And we can just simply go ahead and add 3 subtasks to this new issue that was created. So right now, all this is doing is adding these 3 subtasks with these 3 summaries. One more thing I want to show you is that we have a more powerful way to create issues, which will allow you to add additional fields. So I can simply click this add fields button here, which now converted this 3rd subtask to our full-blown create issue action, which actually allows you to create the issue with pretty much any field set in your Jira instance. So for example, I can set a description on this newly created subtask, and I can also add some labels immediately on creation. And with create issue, you can actually also create issues in other projects, but I'll cover off what you can do within a single project and multi-project rules a little bit later with another example in this demo. But that's pretty much it. That's all we want to do with this rule. So let's just go ahead and give this rule a name, and then we can turn it on and actually try it out. So let's jump back to our Kanban board in this project. And let's go ahead and create a new project of the correct type. So I'm going to pick a task here and enter a summary for this task. And let's go ahead and create this. So now if I jump back to my automation rule and we look at the audit log for this rule, we should in fact see an execution for this already. So the audit log always tells you all the different actions the rule's taken, and it also tells you when a rule was edited. And I can actually dive into this successful execution here, and it gives me full details about which issue triggered this rule, tells me that the issue condition that we've created here passed, and then it actually tells me all the subtasks and issues that were created as part of this. And so if I come back to our Agile board here, you can see that these 3 subtasks have been created automatically, just the way I defined it in the rule. So a very, this was very quick and easy to create this rule, but it actually solves quite a complex use case. And it's already like something that would save you quite a lot of time if you're often creating issues with the same set of subtasks, which is quite a common use case for Jira.